to IGN Live here at Gamescom 2018. We are here to talk about a game that a lot of fans are so excited about, which is Life is Strange 2. I am joined by Michelle. Hello.
Hi.
Congratulations on
Thank
dropping
you.
the trailer yesterday.
Thanks a lot.
So for those who maybe didn't see the trailer, let's just start there. Can you tell us what do we know about the story so far?
Yeah, of course. So we are extremely happy that we were able to reveal Life is Strange 2 here at Gamescom, because we did reveal the first game 4 years ago right here. So it's quite an honor to do that again. So Life is Strange 2 is a brand new story with a new set of characters set in the same universe. And it tells the story of two brothers, Sean and Daniel Diaz. Sean is 16 years old and Daniel is 9 years old. And they are forced to be on the run after a tragic event that changed their lives forever. So it's really a game about brotherhood and education, and we'll have to discover it, of course, while playing the game. But those two kids on the road, they have to make difficult choice, and you, as the big brother, as a player, you will have to take care of your younger brother. And everything you say, everything you do, might have an impact on Daniel, on how he will evolve, on how he will get what you say. So, like you are his role model, so he will look up to you and basically react and.
Well, he's only 9.
Yes, that's definitely the age where basically you need a role model and you still need education. So we are really focusing this story around those two characters, and we are using the structure of a road movie, basically, where you are traveling across the west coast of the United States to flee from Seattle to try to reach Mexico.
Okay, so I have so many questions. I don't even know where to start. So let's just start with the two main characters, the brothers. What attracted you and your team to a story of these two boys?
When we started working on Life is Strange 2 with Raoul, the other co-creative director, and Jean-Luc Cano, the writer, who was also the writer on the previous game and on Captain Spirit, we knew that we wanted to do something different, to be able to tell new stories, because for us, Life is Strange is not about a fixed set of characters. It's not just Max and Chloe or Arcadia Bay, but it's really, Life is Strange is about telling stories about relatable characters that are facing real life issues, and with a twist of supernatural elements. So in the first Life is Strange, we had this small town that you were always in Arcadia Bay, having this mystery story about the disappearance of Rachel Amber and this friendship between Max and Chloe. We really wanted to work on a different structure. That's why right now we have this structure, like I said, about a road movie where they are on the run, they need to advance. So you will meet a lot of different characters over the course of the 5 episodes. You will discover a lot of different sceneries and environments, and this allows us to talk about different social themes, like, for example, talking about outcasts. How is it to live on the outskirts of society, to be basically, to not be in society anymore? What are the difficulties that those two kids will face when they are trying to survive outside of the rules of the real world?
Well, and that's really special, because I'd assume that most people who are playing this game probably don't have those experiences. So you and your team get to kind of introduce them to a whole other world.
You're right, of course. We still have those two characters who are brothers, and in our team, and our writer, Jean-Luc, as a brother, he also a young dad with a little kid. So there is definitely, I think, for every player, something that will appeal as a more universal theme, like I think parenting or brotherhood or having to take care of a child is something we think that should still resonate with most of the players. And of course, we bring them in a totally different settings where they're on the road and living as outcasts, which is definitely a twist on this situation.
Okay, so you mentioned twist. There obviously were supernatural elements in the original. Can we expect to see that in the sequel? Because I don't know, I mean, maybe it's a secret, but I didn't notice any in the trailer.
You've seen some hints of it in the trailer.
Okay.
It's really subtle, but definitely it will be here. It is important for us. Life is Strange is not about the supernatural elements, but the need for us to be there, because we use those supernatural elements to add a twist and another layer of complexity over the simple, relatable story. And the way we are designing and writing the story is to use those supernatural elements to bring a bit of chaos and some emphasis on the real life issues that the brothers are facing. So without telling too much, when we have a game like this one about education where you have to take care of your little brother, if there are some supernatural elements that happens around yourself, it makes it more complicated and makes your choice more harder to
Kind of
make.
ups the ante. So we're watching some gameplay right now, which is brand new.
Definitely.
What can you tell us about what we're seeing?
So it's a real beginning of the game. It's the first scene of the game, and you see right now Sean. So you play as Sean Diaz. He's a 16 years old teenager who he lives in Seattle with his brother and his dad, and he has just teenager issues. He wants to go to a Halloween party. He's talking with his best friend, and you will see that the basics of the game are the same. We really took the core mechanics of Life is Strange. It's a classic adventure game. When you're exploring, there is a lot of care about the environmental storytelling that we love to do. So you can explore your rooms, your house, discover much more about this character and his brother and his dad. It's really a scene where you are in a familiar place, like it looks very much like the first Life is Strange. And you will see, of course, at the end of the gameplay trailer that there is this tragic event that happens that change everything and pushes those two kids to go on their own. So it's interesting because Sean is 16 years old, is younger than Max and Chloe were. And when you put him in a situation where he has to run and to be just on the wild and running away, everything's changed for him. He stops to being a teenager and needs to just be right away almost an adult and take care of his brother. And that's something that was really interesting for us to use a younger character because it brings a lot of interesting narrative points on the story.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, interacting with a younger person versus just peers changes the way that you act. And I'm sure that we'll see Sean have to grow up fast.
Yeah, and even when you're 16 and you have your brother with you, Daniel will be your family, but he's also your burden because sometimes Sean still wants to be a normal teenager, but he cannot do that anymore almost. So there'll be all those interesting decisions we have to make on how you behave with Daniel. Do you take care of him the best way possible? Do you sometimes make some choice that seems maybe better for Sean, but might be not the best one for Daniel?
Yeah.
And all the system of the game and the choice and consequences of the game are evolving over this aspect of teaching Daniel. And like I said in the beginning, your actions, what you do, what you look at, what you're doing when Daniel is next to you will impact him because he will just look at you and sees, okay, if my big brother is doing that, that's maybe the right thing to do.
So you mentioned, I mean, the gameplay looks very familiar to the original. Are there any different gameplay mechanics outside of just a different story?
So the way we did try to approach that is to look at what were the strengths, the things we really liked in the first Life is Strange, and we did try to improve on what for us would be important to have a smoother storytelling. So even right now in the sequence you're looking at, you can see that Sean is on his computer on Skype talking with Lila, his best friend. But at the same moment that you have this discussion, you can also look around and interact with objects while still continuing to talk with her. So we are trying to add more and more of that, of dynamic dialogues where you are not just in a fixed cutscenes talking face to face. We have of those, of course, again, but we have those moments with Daniel or with other characters where you can more freely move in your environments, interact with objects, and still talk to different characters.
I feel like I'm hanging on every word you said. You said Lila's best friend. I'm like, remember it. We'll look it up later. Okay, so this takes place in Oregon, and the last story took place, this place takes place in Seattle, and the last took place in Oregon. This is this is a sequel. So what made you and your team decide that this is a sequel versus doing something like Captain Spirit, where it clearly isn't?
So I wouldn't directly use the word sequel. For me, it's more like another story in the same universe.
Got it.
So definitely you will find links between the first game and the second game. And Captain Spirit is definitely a part of Life is Strange 2. You will see over the course of the other episodes how the story of Sean and Daniel blends with the story of Chris and what happened with those characters together. The game takes place 3 years after the first Life is Strange. So, yeah, player will discover that there are links, there are the same universe, it's the same timeline, the same world. So definitely players will find sometimes some familiarity, but it's still a brand new story that player could play Life is Strange 2 even if they didn't play the first game. Yeah.
So this is kind of out of left field, but I read somewhere that when you and your team were pitching to Square, the original game was meant to be a full-length game, and then it swapped to being episodic. Is that correct?
Actually, no. We directly did pitch the game as episodic. That's something that even before pitching the first game to Square Enix or to publishers, we had this episodic structure in mind. That was a creative decision that we really liked with our writer to try to have this TV series approach, which allowed us to have for us a better pacing over the course of the story, because we knew that each episode was around 2 to 2 hours and 30 minutes, something like that, or 2 to 3 hours, which can be played in one playthrough. And it was interesting for us to think about those episodes as a whole small game. And then when you put the 5 together, you have the bigger story. But we are basically controlling the pacing for the player, because we know that where we begin an episode and where we end an episode, where it's a good moment to have a cliffhanger or some higher pacing. So definitely for us it was episodic right from the beginning, and that's the same for this game.
So I have one last question I have to ask. So was that the last that we saw of Max and Chloe, or will we see them return?
That's something I think I cannot really answer. On our side, for sure, we are extremely happy with the story we told in the first Life is Strange. And
well,
this
it felt
was
very complete.
Yes, for us it is, at least. It was the story we wanted to tell about Max and Chloe, but it was really a coming-of-age story where Max had to, just at a point, decide that she has to make a choice, which is the final choice you make at the end of Season 1. And when the player and Max decide one of those endings, for us, her character arc, her story was done, because she had the guts to say, okay, I stand to one choice and I don't rewind anymore. So for us, this was a good character development that we think that now it's up to the players and the fans to just think of what happens next to those characters. And hopefully, you cannot do too many games in a game developer time. It takes time to make games. So we prefer to focus on trying to bring new characters and new stories, because there is a lot of different themes and situations we want also to bring to awareness to the players, and having a new set of characters coming from different cultures of background allows us to talk to much more different subjects
versus just sticking with the same story the whole time. Well, thank you so much for stopping by. I'm so excited about all of the new information we've learned. Stick around, because IGN Live at Gamescom 2018 is coming right back at you after this.